Hello you, we have a new card reveal and it is a steal. Oh Captain, my Captain. Welcome, Illumineers and fans of the happiest card game on earth. My name is Gantu Sparrow and this is the Illumineers. Before we get started, do you follow me on Twitter? And if not, why not? Lorcana Twitter is fantastic. It's just full of memes and people chatting and people hanging out. It's a really great time. So make sure you're checking out #Lorcana. And while you're there, give me a follow as well. It's absolutely full of hot takes and toilet thoughts. That's thoughts when I'm on the toilet, not thoughts about toilets. Anyway, we have a new card reveal today. We're going to fly through this one. I need these videos to be quick. We have about 180 of them still to do. But today we got our first look at Gantu, Galactic Federation Captain. Gantu is one of the antagonists from Lilo and Stitch and represents the third card we're seeing from that franchise. It is an 8-costed 6/6 in steel, just the second steel card we're getting to see. And it does make me wonder a little bit whether the folks behind the social media team with Lorcana are actually affecting what gets released based on feedback, because we've all been screaming about steel cards for a week or two now. Or it may just be a happy accident, who knows. Anyway, it's lovely stuff. Either way, let's dive in and see what it tells us about the game. So first of all, it's a Storyborn card, very much looked like one as well. This artwork could be ripped from the concept art pages of the movie. It is drew by the incredible Luis Huerta, who is showing us that he can do stuff other than dragons, and it really is fantastic. A real majestic pose, very strong-willed, really sort of sets off the steel vibe that I think the game is going for. Next up, it is an alien, which is also interesting stuff. It is now the third alien we've seen. Like I say, the third card we're seeing from Lilo and Stitch, and also the third colour that we are seeing in that as well. Stitch being amber and Jumba being amethyst, and this one being steel. This tells us a few things. First of all, it shows us that IPs aren't going to be stuck to two specific colours, which might not sound like a crazy thing, but I know a lot of people are planning to build decks based around IPs, the sort of people who perhaps don't necessarily care that much about whether the deck is strong or not, just that it's very thematically on point. It does mean that you aren't going to be able to play all the Lilo and Stitch cards in one deck. We do know that Lorcana does have a 2-color deck restriction. This kind of makes sense. I can't imagine anybody who's playing Stitch Rockstar in a deck is also going to be wanting to play Gantu in a deck. They don't really synergize too well together, I don't think. But instead, I think we're seeing Jumba as sort of like a bridge card here. I can see either the Stitch focused decks or the Gantu focused decks still wanting Jumba in there to get any kind of alien synergies that we may well see in the future. And I say in the future because I don't think we've seen many other IPs yet that contain aliens, if at all, actually. Let me know in the comments if I've missed any, but I can't think of anything other than Lilo and Stitch that we've seen so far that could be labeled as alien. And that's fascinating to me because that suggests that in later sets we're going to see more stuff that is going to reference these older cards. I absolutely get giddy at the idea that set 5 or set 6 we start seeing Treasure Planet cards that suddenly care about aliens, and as a hoarder I'm instantly going to go back and find out my play sets from stuff from the first chapter for my Alien Matters deck. That's all pretty crazy speculation, which we're pretty good at doing here. The third keyword he has is Captain, and this one I do think is pretty interesting. It suggests that Steel is going to have some sort of Captain's Matter sub-theme, as the only other steel card we've seen so far is Captain Hook, who also has that keyword. He notably doesn't have the villain keyword here, which kind of thematically makes sense. Gantu isn't necessarily a villain, but more of an antagonist from the movie. Whilst he's technically the bad guy to Stitch, he's also a good guy in the fact that he's part of the Federation that's looking after the galaxy. So it's a little bit grey, and I can totally understand why they haven't used the villain keyword here. Let's be honest, pretty much every Disney IP can have a hero and a villain in there. There's very few that don't. So I think it's fine for any of these characters that are a little bit more morally ambiguous to not necessarily have either of those keywords, because otherwise cards like Hades just get even stronger and stronger with a larger pool of cards to pull from. Next up, we have his ability Under Arrest. Characters with cost 2 or less can't challenge your characters. This ability is sometimes known as a floodgate, and it basically means a passive ability that sticks around on the board and makes it so that you or an opponent can't do a certain part of the game. In this case, challenging with smaller creatures. Cruella de Vil, Captain Hook, Olaf, Aladdin, instantly are useless as soon as this guy lands on the board. Personally, it's a great card to see in a first set. Weenies or going wide, these are all terms for lots of small creatures being able to do lots of damage, are often very strong in early sets of games because it's usually lots of cheap cards, both in-game cost cheap but also financially cheap, and you can usually make some pretty strong decks by just having loads of little cards that all sort of turn sideways and deal damage. So it's great to see that they're sort of putting something in place to sort of maybe stop that happening so much. Also, it's really thematically on point. Stitch Rockstar is not a 2-cost card, but it does care about 2-cost cards. The idea is that once Stitch Rockstar is down, any 2-cost card you play, you can exert it for a card. This is the antithesis. This is the antithesis to that deck. Gantu in the movie is the antagonist to Stitch, and he looks like he's going to be in the game as well. Gantu has 2 lore on him. Cool. We still don't know what that means. He's number 178 out of 204, and he looks like he is legendary rarity, making him only the second one of those we've seen after the original Maleficent. Well, I think that's all I've got to say about Gantu at the moment. This video is probably twice the length I want it to be, but I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to click the like button, and if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe for loads more Lorcana news as it happens, or at least as soon as I get home from work happens. Thanks for watching. Until the next one, be good.